The Tao Te Ching by the shadowy figure Lao-Tzu is a seminal text for the philosophical and religious school of thought known as Taoism. Scholars date the text to the 6th century BCE, and it has since become one of the most widely translated texts, only after the Bible. At 5,000 words, it's a short, albeit poetic, and at times esoteric read. Here are 4 themes from the text that you should know. The Tao. Tao is the central ontological feature of Taoism, described as mysterious but eternally real, hidden but always present. Without beginning, it gave birth to the universe. It flows within all things, like a sort of animating or organizing principle. It's used, but it's never used up. The Tao Te Ching tends to talk in elusive or mosaic terms about the Tao, repeatedly claiming it can't be truly grasped in the literary or cognizant fashion you typically find in Western philosophy. This passage in section 14 describes the Tao as such. Look, and it can't be seen. Listen, and it can't be heard. Reach, and it can't be grasped. Above, it isn't bright. Below, it isn't dark. Seamless, unnameable, it returns to the realm of nothing. Form that includes all forms. Image without an image. Subtle, beyond all conception. Approach it, and there is no beginning. Follow it, and there is no end. You can't know it, but you can be it. Be at ease in your own life. Just realize where you came from. This is the essence of wisdom. If we were to take that passage seriously at face value, we might feel kind of stifled in our attempts to conceptualize the Tao. Here are a few things I might cautiously say about the Tao. It seems to be both metaphysical and ethical, which means that it describes the nature of reality, but it also describes how we should act. Metaphysically speaking, it's monistic or singular, and it's transcendent of our spatio-temporal reality. So in this way, I would say it doesn't actually cause the universe to exist the way you might think of the Abrahamic God as causing the universe to exist. Rather, I would say it transcends causality itself. So it's essentially transcending all physical processes, which I would say causality is a physical process. It's a kind of animating or organizing principle, but it's void of any inherent self-nature or essence. Ethically speaking, I wouldn't say it's prescriptive or instructive, but rather more intuitive and sort of visceral. So Tao literally means the way or the path. And when you take that with its inherently formless description, it seems to imply this kind of fluid and free-flowing ethics concerned with feeling and then acting rather than thinking it all through and then acting. The Tao isn't inherently good, or evil for that matter, but it does give rise to both. It's like bellows fanning the flames of life in all of its benevolent and malevolent glory. We're also told that the more you talk of it, the less you understand it, so you're just going to have to go with it. Ziran. Ziran is the virtue of naturalness or suchness. The translation of Ziran is often self-so or so of itself. So that's hinting at a kind of tautology that you find in all things and ourselves. And we must first recognize this in order to attain understanding. Think of it as being in harmony with one's own nature and having faith in the way that things are. This concept comes as a logical extension of the Tao, from which all things arise, correspond, and return. To move closer to a state of Ziran, one must tame and relinquish accumulated baggage and extraneous collateral. As it's written in chapter 10 of the Tao Te Ching, can you coax your mind from its wandering and keep to the original oneness? Can you let your body become supple as a newborn child's? Can you cleanse your inner vision until you see nothing but the light? Can you love people and lead them without imposing your will? Can you deal with the most vital matters by letting events take their own course? Can you step back from your own mind and thus understand all things? Giving birth and nourishing, having without possessing, acting with no expectations, leading and not trying to control, this is the supreme virtue. I think this passage is instructing us to exercise a degree of detachment and ease with the way things appear, and in so doing so we should get a clearer sense of how they actually are, and therefore we ought to behave better. Sometimes imposing an excess of will or effort can lead to perversion and negative externalities because we've lost sight of the larger picture, and therefore we've lost sight of our own nature. Being aware of things a little more faithfully to how they really are should actually give us a sense of ease and wisdom, and we can use that wisdom to instruct ourselves. Wu-wei. Wu-wei translates literally as non-doing or doing nothing, but a more interpretive translation is often given as effortless action. Wu-wei is a desirable state of mind we can attain when we're able to focus and become finely attuned to our task, and at the same time becoming effortless and self-propelling. It kind of reminds me of the concept of flow, when we feel like we've just lost ourselves in something, while at the same time we have a sense of focus and clarity. Wu-wei is often described as a characteristic of a master or a powerful person. Somebody who has achieved a degree of control such that they're able to exercise that control without seeming like much effort or exertion is going into it. This paradoxical relationship between ease and mastery also reminds me of the colloquialism of being cool. You can't try to be cool because doing so would defeat the purpose of being cool in the first place. It must be effortless and smooth. In chapter 38 you find, "The master doesn't try to be powerful, thus he is truly powerful. The ordinary man keeps reaching for power, thus he never has enough." I imagine there's a kind of discipline required for this sort of effortless action, on the grounds that our attention is really easily captured or distracted by useless things. Being able to let ourselves sink into our task and find a flow state either involves being so captivated by that task that we involuntarily submit to it, or it's going to involve a degree of voluntary focus. So therefore I see Wu-wei as being something that can either just find us in the moment, or is something that you have to train with focus and patience over time. Yin and Yang. Yin and Yang are concepts used to describe the fundamental orientations or valences of the Tao. Yin and Yang describe the myriad of opposing dipoles like being and non-being, soft and hard, passive and active, hot and cold, losing and gaining. It's this constant mutual necessary interplay between these orientations that gives rise to all things. The Tao gives birth to the One gives birth to the Two gives birth to the Three, and the Three gives birth to all things. Chapter 42 alludes at this interplay as being a necessary condition for the existence of things. So this is interesting because Yin and Yang permeate thematically throughout the entire book as descriptions of time and space. So you hear it describing things like long and short, large and small, high and low, rising and falling, opening and closing, beginning and ending, brightness and darkness, day and night, life and death, being and non-being, and so on and so forth. In this sense, I think Yin and Yang can almost be seen as an abstract expression of value or quantity, and we use that quantity to triangulate everything else. So to bring about harmony, it's necessary to bring Yin and Yang into ceremony, and that is to follow the Tao.